will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. It seems simplistic, and in the audiobook version of the course, when he's explaining everything, he stresses over and over again not to discount it because of its simplicity. But when you think about it, and I know many of you are not from our country, but you likely heard on the news everything that was going on with our election, right? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. And the world was shocked, I think, when Donald Trump won. And it may be because, like what Ben talked about today, that 86% of news stories are not really news. It's somebody trying to steer a certain outcome. But when you look at Donald Trump's campaign and the way that he ran the campaign, he followed this to a T. I don't know if he's been exposed to Blair Warren, if he ever read any of his stuff, or had ever gone through this course, or if it's just because he's an extremely persuasive and influential individual. But everything he did was built around encouraging people's dreams, justifying their failures, allaying fears, confirming suspicions, and helping them throw rocks at their enemies. And he was elected president of the United States, a guy who just a few years ago was on television on The Apprentice, a guy who some pretty scandalous stuff came out about right before the election, and he was able to win. And now clearly there are more factors that go into an election, but at the core, I think that you could take this framework and apply it or lay it over the way that he ran his campaign, and it would fit almost perfectly, kind of like a glove. People will do these things, but again, we need to know what their dreams are. We need to know how they've failed. We need to know what they're afraid of, what they're suspicious of. We need to know who their enemies are. And enemies in this context does not have to be like a person. I mean, it could be a person, but it could be a group of some kind. It could be a condition. It could be a health issue. I mean, anything that a person would have a really strong distaste for could be the enemy. So if we can encourage people's dreams and justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm suspicions, help them throw rocks at their enemies, they will feel deeply connected to us. I mean, this is you're fulfilling a need for them that they naturally have. Husbands will leave their wives, or wives will leave their husbands that they've been married to for 30 years, 40 years, for somebody that they just met, because that person fulfills these needs and their spouse has become kind of, lackadaisical or does not pay them that necessary attention. Children will go down a path that their parents could never imagine them going down, getting involved with drugs or gangs, whatever it may be, because those bad people, those people that wrong path, those people do these things, and their parents are neglectful of them. So if we could position ourselves as ones who fulfill these needs in our prospects' lives, we're positioning ourselves very strongly, but we have to find this out. And in most cases, like I imagine many of you, do you kind of try to do the one call close type approach where you're on the phone with the person one time? They're not just going to come out and tell you what all their dreams are and what they're afraid of and what their suspicions are. So you have to ask, and that goes back to using some of the questions that we showed before. What are you looking for in a?
I do the first part of that, actually, anyway, because I like hearing what their dreams are with their business. But I've never really done the other parts of their peers and their enemies. How do you even approach that side of it? Like, I kind of feel funny bringing that up anyway.
I always, when I was on the phone to like salon owners, I was like,
who are your enemies?
Yeah, is there another salon in your town that's kind of, you want to get ahead of, or that's doing something that's different, like, are they using the news or anyone that you want to, because they're a bit ego-focused and they want to be better than the others. And then they tell me and they'd be like, oh yeah, and they're so bitchy and they do this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they are. So I can do all those things. So with really, really good Facebook marketing, like, you'd be able to get it better than them, then you would skyrocket and be known as the best salon in town, and that's like, yeah. So.
Well, and their dreams, no doubt.
Yeah.
And their dreams are to be known as the best salon in the town, likely. If they're engaging you, they're like a highly motivated salon owner. But it doesn't have to be Like, I wouldn't come out and ask a question like, who are your enemies? It's more when you're figuring out their situation and you're digging deeper and deeper. So, what are you looking for?
Or like a SWOT analysis, like the threats in their business.
It could be, but I think that's a more formal approach, and that's a SWOT analysis we generally do like on our business or on a client in kind of a structured way, where this is more conversational and finding out. So
Tell me about your competition.
you could do that if you want to position the competition as the enemy.
Yeah.
But it could be something else. Like the enemy could be the terrible leads that they have coming in. Or it could be that they've been ripped off by 4 other consultants or gurus or coaches that they tried to hire, and the only way you're going to find that out is if you dig deep and find out their situation and find out what that means to them. So questions like, what are you looking for in a salon coach, or I'm not exactly sure how you position yourself, but I'm looking for somebody who's going to help me do this and this and this. Well, have you worked with anyone else before? Well, we have. We hired a different company. What was that like? Knowing that they're coming to you, there must have been something wrong with the first situation. That also helps you justify their failures, and you can use that. Well, it's not your fault that the leads you've been dealing with have been poor, and that your sales team hasn't been able to close as many sales as they could, and that your business has not experienced the growth you expected. I mean, how could anybody succeed if the lead generation consultant was doing A, B, and C?
But it's a bit more subtle in bringing it out.
You can overtly ask. I mean, there's not one right way to do it. I mean, somewhat contradictory to what I said before. And you have to feel the person out. You wouldn't want to ask a person a question that's going to make them uncomfortable. But ultimately, you want to figure out where they are today and where they want to be and why they want to be there.
I think the questions you had after these ones are perfect for that, as opposed to, I feel like you want to make them feel like that without, you don't have to say, I will help you overcome your threats and achieve your goals, but you make them feel like that because you know this information about them, so they feel as if you're the best friend going into war with them.
Absolutely, because think about it. If we were to be sitting and talking later, and I was to ask you, what's your dreams, Kim? What are you hoping to achieve over the next year? And you were to tell me that, and I was going to say that's a stupid idea. How would that make you feel? You'd probably want to punch me in the face. People do not. I don't think anybody in this room likes having their dreams stepped on. Nobody likes to feel like the failure is our fault. I mean, we have to recognize that sometimes, but nobody likes to feel that way. So if somebody comes along and justifies our failure, like, well, I totally understand why you struggled, or why, this was the outcome, because you had all this against you. You're justifying it. If you allay their fears, I think as adults, we kind of feel like we're not really afraid of anything, but everybody has fears, And if somebody was to say to you, oh, just don't be afraid, that's stupid to be afraid of, that's not going to make you feel good. But if somebody was to allay that fear by kind of comforting you through it and explaining why that outcome is not worth, that fear is not worth having, suspicions, we're suspicious people. And if somebody confirms our suspicions and it can also be, and real quick, it doesn't have to be all these 5 things at once. So the process is not like you have to encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemy. But just knowing that doing these things kind of endears people to us, it makes us more persuasive and influential. And when we can tie this to our product or service, so the salon owner who's gone to another lead generation program or coach who feels like she was completely ripped off, that her business is struggling now, and that reflects poorly on her, and she wants to get the business to double or triple over the next year, who comes to Carissa, who can find out all these things and then can show her why my program is different, in that I can help you generate leads that will be high quality, so that the people who are coming in the door are going to, not only are they going to come in one time, they're going to come in multiple times, because my track record shows this, that salons grow X amount, and you're not to blame for the situation that you're in now, because you had somebody who did not specialize in the salon industry like I do, and to walk them through all this. That being said, it's also important to remember, and Ben stresses this all the time, that we need to act in an ethical manner. So if somebody's dream is stupid, like if if it's just not realistic and it's something that them chasing would hurt them in some way or put them in a position, if one of your clients was going to call you up and say, I'm getting out of my business, I'm just going to walk away from it because I want to become, a professional, an actor or a singer. And not that that's, for some people that is a legitimate dream, but not for everybody. Like if I said, I'm going to give up my business and I'm going to walk away from all this and I'm going to try out for the NFL. And if you guys were like, that's awesome, you should do it, go to the gym. That would be a terrible thing to do to me, to encourage that dream. If I keep failing because I haven't taken the time to learn the necessary skills, I'm not diligent in my work. If the failure is mine to be shouldered 100%, you justifying that failure isn't doing me any good. If I'm afraid of something that I should be afraid of, like if there was a poisonous spider here or something, and I was like, oh, I'm scared, and you're like, oh no, just go pet it. We have them in Australia all the time. They don't bother. Or if you get the point. If it's something that it would be unethical for you to take one of these actions, or if it's something that the person actually should feel that way, you would not want to change the way that they're feeling. So those are some of the questions. Again, we would want to ask permission before we ask them. But I think if you haven't, I'm happy to send the slides. You could also just look it up online, the one-sentence persuasion formula. But it's a good context, I think, to realize these things, and it's so easy to remember. And these opportunities pop up not just in our business lives, but like with our friends and our family, our spouses or our boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever it may be. If somebody shares a dream with you, by encouraging that, again, if it's a legitimate dream, not something that's going to hurt them, that endears them to you, and it makes you, it strengthens the relationship, it builds rapport, it also makes you more persuasive to that person.